Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm hopeful it doesn't take long. Actually, the building doesn't look too dissimilar to the one on.
Here, there's an extra packet.
It's very office building. Yeah. They're trying to disguise it to get away from big box. Yeah, right.
Tell them you got it for me, it's $5. Seriously?
Yeah, so that's the latest.
Right up on the street, it's just north of where the Amazon Fashion with it thin. Everyone's that. Don't do that. Yeah, right. That's not what we're looking for. But I think you want to break things up and make it look like. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I hear you. So hopefully.
So Matt, I'll open the survey too.
I talked to him about marking, and he said he'd bring you up if need be. So if they have questions, I'm here.
Maybe this is it.
I can pay you the West.
That's right.
It's nice at the back sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
What's the billboard?
Oh, yeah.
Which went exceptionally well, did it not? I got railed at for an hour.
No.
That's right.
The other thing about the new one, I don't understand why I can't tell how many people are watching anymore. That's what I want to know. I want to know how many viewers are watching.
Right. I'm good, thank you.
No, it's okay.
I can't find it in my file. What was the name of your folder? The attorney.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, the oyster buckets. Oh, nice. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's terrific. I'm going down tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, you're leaving tomorrow?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Weather's not, I mean, tomorrow's gonna rain on Thursday, looks like, so that's too bad. I'm going to the shoot.
So there needs to be a representative.
So we get it started. County committee consists of people from each district. We're at all the towns, has the county. The interesting thing about this, we only have 7. So
I didn't give you guys the chance to say that. You know, he's on his way.
Oh, weird. I was thinking like Glenn. I was like, wait a second.
So Glenn, it's a two-way street thing to get in and out of there. You want to come away from.
at the election, June 2nd, you get like 10 tribes in the right chance, you get put on you don't have to run for election. The fun thing is you go to the county, that charge the county, like 6 counties. So, it's my section.
I can go back, I'll give you.
This kind of thing is better. Yeah, you go Uncle Elizabeth and up and down there.
Do you have what George was talking
Yeah,
about?
I'm good. No, just the county, committee.
The mics are on, just let everybody know we're recording.
Here's their drive. Right there.
Yeah, but this has nothing to do with it. It's up here.
Yeah, oh, I know, but this is right.
I don't.
Oh, that's what that's. No, yeah.
I got here for my order, I got another one. Just check. Gotta give me your order right away.
When? Oh, yeah.
10 o'clock.
And there's obviously. Again,
We want to try to see the rest of it.
oh, we'll be out by 10. Yeah.
Oh,
But I
look
mean,
at that,
I think it
7:20.
could be over by
You're
then. Is it an
over
8
there.
o'clock or 7:30? 8? Oh, yeah.
Mike gets a couple of minutes.
The semi-hot seat.
They lost,
Thanks.
3-2.
I just drove by, obviously they were,
Oh, in the Ocean County tournament?
Yeah.
Lena, what's softball game?
Varsity lost.
my 9-year-old.
Oh, down the Little League field?
Yep.
How's he doing?
McGee was there.
Oh, he would, huh? How's he doing?
Good.
Gail's doing?
They were getting ready. Meeting starting.
As long as they get a hot dog and a soda, they're usually happy.
You know what, though?
No, not yet. It's too early. School. Oh, yeah. June through June.
I have no idea what anything sort of.
They didn't, they faced somebody to lose.
I have to turn my mic on when I talk. They want to listen to the new sound system. They said, Karen, did you turn your mic off? So now they can hear me. We're the only one with the off button, I told you.
Started after spring break.
Who's gonna pick Thursday?
So I asked them if they went.
Full, we're full, everybody ready, because they didn't make Monmouth County, they were off tomorrow.
And how would you, it's gonna be tough to walk twice. But if it's you, they should be south. That would be incredible.
Hi Denise, how are you? Good. Hello everyone.
Hello, Paul. You were early.
I was here a whole 5 minutes ahead of time.
Yeah, you were.
Do it yourself.
And we are at the official clock.
Official clock.
Is my phone. I'd like to open the special meeting for the Point Pleasant Beach Board of Adjustment for April 28th, 2026. Get a reading of the Open Public Meetings Act, please.
Adequate notice of the time of this meeting was given under the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act and was posted and sent to the official designated newspapers in compliance with the law.
Roll call, please.
Secretary Davis. Here. Mr. DeAlmeida.
Here.
Vice Chair Reynolds.
Here.
Chairman Strunches.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Clayton.
Here.
And Mr. Loder.
Here.
I have one set of minutes. Your initials are listed. Could I have a motion to memorialize January 29th?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. DeAlmeida, Lino.
Yes.
Vice Chair Reynolds.
Yes.
Chairman Strunches.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly. And Mr. Clayton.
Yes.
Then two resolutions. Be it resolved by the Board of Adjustment that it hereby memorializes the action and vote approving application 2025-30 of Bulldog Beach LLC at 141A Boardwalk with conditions. Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Secretary Davis.
Yes.
Vice Chair Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly. Mr. Clayton.
Yes.
Mr. Loder.
Yes.
And Chairman Strunches.
Yes.
Be it resolved by the Board of Adjustment that it hereby memorializes the action and vote approving application 2025-31 of Bulldog Beach LLC at 141B Boardwalk with conditions. Motion?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Secretary Davis.
Yes.
Vice Chair Reynolds.
Yes.
Mr. Kelly. Mr. Clayton.
Yes.
Mr. Loder.
Yes.
And Chairman Strunches.
Yes.
And we just have one application on this evening, 2026-15, 1500 Richmond Ave LLC, being represented by Mr. Jackson.
Was there a discovery, Mr. Jackson, or is this just a new setup? Or did we find out what the issue was?
No.
It has me befuddled, I can't
All right,
figure
so
it
we
out.
just went to the new setup.
So I went to the old setup, I just moved it from there to there, because I think that's better.
It
Yeah.
is.
Go ahead.
So thank you, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, John Jackson on behalf of the applicant, 1500 Richmond Avenue LLC, which, as you know, is a company owned by Frank and Anthony, who are here with me this evening, as well as Mr. Ed McGlynn. What we seek to do is obtain an approval for a self-storage facility at 501 Elizabeth Avenue. We have BWD Architects here, we have Dynamic Engineering, and I respectfully submit, we hope the board agrees, this is a very attractive building. We think it fits well where it's located on the turnaround as you come on 35 and get over on the south end of town and you want to turn around to go back on 35 South. These renderings, I'm advised, are pretty true to life, and I know Mr. Strunches has a very keen eye for identifying discrepancies in the renderings, so hopefully we're very true to life with these. And they show that the building fits well, self-storage. You can see the Goodyear building there in its position. Here is a colored rendering of our site plan. Aerial view to show where it is. The board knows this area, this particular location, it's been kind of run down for a number of years. I think Mr. Nick Tarquino had his, I think he did like sewer connections, water and sewer connections. He had his equipment and stuff there. And it's a pretty prominent location in town, but it's ready for redevelopment, and Frank and Anthony are here to do it. Here is our 3-story self-storage. We have the layout. We're going to go through that. Again, the architecturals are self-explanatory. We're going to meet the flood regulations. What we're going to do is we're going to build a flood-proof building. Because of where the grade is, my engineer advises me they just could not make the grade work on this type of operation that would get the floor up above the flood elevation. So through the marvel of modern architecture and materials, we're going to create a building that, as I understand it, can withstand the pressures if the water level raises, and will also not allow the water in. So we understand that that is a permitted type of construction, and that will meet FEMA compliance. It's basically waterproof. There's a site plan again, and that's basically an overview of our application. We also have a phone consultant, Justin Acello, here. He will provide the planning testimony, special reasons, et cetera. We're hopeful, in light of the testimony that we're going to provide, that this property is uniquely suited for this type of facility. And my clients are, as you know, they have a number of real estate and businesses, real estate holdings and businesses in town. Their plan is to have a management company with in-depth experience running self-storage is who they will work with, and they will work for them. So there'll be an experienced operator there. One of the questions in Mr. Savacool's letter had things like, is there going to be hazardous materials, where they'll be working on vehicles, et cetera. We won't have any of that, and that will all be provided for in the lease. So thank you for the opportunity to give the overview. If we could mark the PowerPoint as A3 and have Mr. Bursch come forward, who is incorrectly identified as Mark Whitaker on the PowerPoint. So you want to come forward? He's sworn, qualified as an engineer.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Spell your last name. Sorry, can you spell your last name?
Yes. My name is Matthew Bursch, B-E-R-S-C-H. Just want to make sure this is picking me up. I'm with Dynamic Engineering, 1904 Main Street, Lake Como, New Jersey.
Thank you. And Mr. Bursch, could you please give the board a brief outline of your professional credentials?
Absolutely. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from Rutgers University. I have over 14 years of experience in the field of land development. I'm a principal at Dynamic Engineering, and I've been accepted as a professional engineer by over 30 boards throughout the state.
And we'll do the same. Please
Thank you,
proceed.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman. Mr. Bursch, I know you've prepared an aerial exhibit that we have in the PowerPoint. I'm going to fill it in all the way. Can you just give the board an overview of our site, and we'll take it from there. The zone we're in, location, unique features.
Absolutely. So the exhibit here is an aerial map exhibit. It was prepared by my office, dated 4/28/2026. This aerial map is at F50 scale. For orientation purposes, north is to the top of the page. Route 35 northbound is on the right side. Route 35 southbound is on the left side. And the subject property is located directly in the center, outlined in that yellow dashed line. So the existing property, it's block 16 and a number of lots, lots 2 through 10, 12 through 14, and 19. The address is 501 Elizabeth Avenue. As I mentioned, it's sandwiched between Route 35 and Route northbound and southbound, and it is located in the HC Highway Commercial Zone. To the north of the subject property, and I'll use the point.
You got one.
Yep. To the north of the subject property is a U-turn to bring you from Route 35 northbound to southbound. It is Newark Avenue, but I think I'll just call it U-turn for purposes of my testimony. With some commercial and restaurant uses beyond, also in the HC district. To the east is Route 35 northbound with the train tracks beyond, and then residential and commercial uses by way of the Railside Outdoor Patio Store in the SF5 district. To the south is Elizabeth Avenue, which is right here. It's a cul-de-sac. And beyond Elizabeth Avenue are commercial and office uses. Again, these are in the HC Highway Commercial District. And then to the west, you have 35 southbound with a Tirecraft Goodyear just before Route 35 southbound, and then commercial uses beyond in the HC district, and then Point Pleasant Boroughs GC General Commercial District. So the subject property is 1.42 acres in size. Existing on site today are an existing building on the north side. This is most recently used as a contractor storage garage with a business operating out of it. Just to the east of that, this is used as like a landscape or storage area. And then on the southern portion of the property, it's really just an open gravel parking lot with vehicle storage and storage of some various other items. Access to the site today is from 3 separate curb cuts. Along Elizabeth Avenue, there's a wide open edge of pavement that just rolls right into the gravel lot. It's approximately 160 feet in existing conditions, no curbs, no aprons, no depressed curbs or anything. On the Route 35 northbound side, there's a gravel driveway that leads into this section of the storage lot. And then on the U-turn, there is another paved driveway that leads to the building. The subject property is relatively flat. There's less than 3 feet of grade change generally throughout the property itself. Elevation ranges from 5 to 8. And the center of the property is generally the high point and gently slopes to the perimeter road frontages. As Mr. Jackson mentioned, the entirety of the subject property is in the flood hazard area, as is the entire surrounding area. If we could, can we switch to the site plan rendering? This exhibit, it's called Site Plan Rendering. It was, again, prepared by my office, dated 4/28/2026. This exhibit is in the same orientation as the previous aerial map exhibit. To give a quick overview of what we are proposing, it is a three-story self-storage facility outlined in this burnt orange color. The footprint is 23,675 square feet for a total gross floor area of 79,226 square feet. There's approximately 500 units, storage units within the building. The building is oriented with the the front or like main operation area and the south and southwest sides. And you can see there's a translucent burnt orange color here. That's because all of the parking and loading operations actually occur under the building. So the first 2 floors are essentially open, and then there's a 3rd floor that covers this parking loading area. Self-storage facilities are not permitted within the HC zone, so we are here seeking a use variance, and you'll hear a bit more from our planner on that. Some additional improvements that we're making include improvements to landscaping, lighting, parking and loading facilities, driveways, stormwater management, signage, and utilities, as I'll touch on each of those momentarily. So access to the proposed development will be from one location, and that's along Elizabeth Avenue. This driveway is 25 feet wide. It's a significant reduction from the existing open edge of pavement that I mentioned earlier. That 160 feet of open pavement is now just channelized to 25 feet here on the west side of that Elizabeth Avenue frontage. The driveway is stop controlled via stop bar and stop sign and provides adequate visibility and sight lines. The 2 other curb cuts that I mentioned previously, one was in the northeast corner here and one in the northern portion of the property, those will be closed as part of this application. And I believe that's a significant safety improvement just to the circulation surrounding the site. We are requesting variance relief for the location of the Elizabeth Avenue driveway. The ordinance requires 40 feet from a property line, whereas we are providing 13 feet from the western property line. Again, I feel like the driveway is an overall improvement. The existing open edge of pavement goes beyond the property line and continues right into the adjacent use. So this helps to add some curb and channelize the access to this property. As for parking, there's no set parking requirement in the municipal ordinance for a self-storage facility. We use the general retail office calculation for purposes of providing something on our site plans, and utilize the 900 square feet of office space that's in the building for the calculation. That calculation comes out to us needing 9 parking stalls. In the back of our mind, we always knew that the ITE requirement, which is essentially the traffic engineering Bible, has a separate requirement for mini warehouse uses, which is what a self-storage facility is. And that requirement is 1 space per 10,000 square feet of floor area, and that subsumes the office component into that parking calculation. And that requirement stipulates that we would need 8 parking stalls, and we are providing 9 parking stalls. So we do meet the general parking requirement for this use. Of those 9 parking stalls, one of those is an ADA stall, located just on the west side of the office component. And there are 5 loading spaces, unlike that, we'll call it the interior of the building, beyond a security gate. The standard parking stalls near the office use are 9 by 18. The ADA stall is 11 by 18 with an adjacent access aisle. There are 3, we'll call them oversized parking spaces on the inside of the security gate for the loading and unloading operation. Those are 11.5 feet wide by 35 feet long. And then there are 2 standard parking spaces in that area as well that are 11.5 feet wide by 20 feet long. The interior loading and all of the drive aisles and access is...
Take a train close here.
That's fine, I'll take a train.
All right, go ahead.
So the development is able to accommodate an SU-30 box truck, which we anticipate would be the standard or really largest truck that would enter the facility. We are not proposing any EV parking stalls as part of this application. An EV parking stall or a make-ready stall is not required per the state's model ordinance. At the head of the loading zone parking stalls, there's a 5-foot striped area. This provides pedestrian movement area, maneuverability, and access to a couple of storage units that have doors to the outside of the building, which you'll hear a little bit more on that from our architect. Similarly, there's the 13-foot wide striped area on the top side, again providing some space for pedestrian access into the building as well as into those exterior facilities. When I say exterior, they're still under the building, but for purposes of showing where the parking and loading is, they're kind of exterior. We are proposing bollards at various points within this loading area to protect the building.
That's one of the issues that was raised in the review letter, and we're getting rid of the curb stops and putting in bollards, right?
Yeah, that would occur in this location close to the office. So as you wrap around the building to the southwest side and the south side, there's flush curb at the head of these standard parking stalls with wheel stops. The board engineer recommended bollards in place of wheel stops, which we will agree to change.
And I want to go to one other thing, the striped area along the, the top of the lighter orange area. That is for vehicle circulation. That doesn't line up with the doors of the units. Can you please explain that, why that's like that, and how that will work?
Correct. Yeah, these spaces, there's 11, I believe it's 11 storage units that face outside of the building. So they don't line up exactly with parking stalls. We provide that striping space for movement, for maneuverability, for just people to unload goods, bring them into the building and vice versa. And then the striped area on the top also helps with some vehicle circulation as well.
All right, please continue.
Next, I'd like to touch on some operations. I know Mr. Jackson mentioned some of it, but I'll continue that a little bit further. So the applicant plans to retain ownership of the site and facility. They do have a third-party management company that will operate the facility on their behalf. The management company they plan to use has over 160 self-storage facilities throughout the country. They are part of the Self-Storage Association. They have strict leases and guidelines that conform to modern and safe storage activity and practices. As Mr. Jackson mentioned, some of the stipulations in leases will be no hazardous materials, no outdoor storage, no businesses being conducted out of this facility. The hours for the office component will be.
So just 1 minute, I mean, there's more than that just being in a lease. These units don't have electric except for lights, right?
That is correct.
So if a contractor wanted to go in there and operate a plug-in saw or set up shop, that just, not only would it not be allowed, but the building isn't designed to allow that. Is that all correct?
That is correct.
All right, please continue.
So the hours for the office use, we anticipate they'll be 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. That could vary, could end up being 9 to 5, but it'll generally be in that range. And then the hours for the overall facility will be 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. So if you rent a unit, you can access it between 5 and 11. This will be open 7 days a week.
And this is a technology-driven internet. We're going to have the latest technology to allow people to go online and.
Absolutely.
We'll
Yeah.
get into that in further detail, but that's your understanding?
Yeah, most of the rentals occur online nowadays, but there is that employee that occupies the office that is able to process a rental for anybody who wants to do it in person. Some additional operations with regards to the office, they do have a small amount of goods for sale, tape, boxes, some packaging goods, just general merchandise that you might need if you forget it at home. So hours for the office, I mentioned somewhere between 8 and 6, 9 and 5. The storage facility 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. and both and the operations will be 7 days per week. That one employee will be situated within the office area, and there really is minimal in-person activity with this type of use nowadays. Trash operations, trash will be collected and stored in a small trash room in the section of the building on the southern side. This is a carry-in, carry-out facility. The trash room isn't meant for people to just unpack boxes, dump their boxes, and throw them into a dumpster. If you have a box, you bring in a box, you have to take that out. The trash room is really just for like the office use and the bathrooms. It's really just for minor.
So that's
Cash
discouraged, and we're not designing it in a way so someone can leave an old mattress that they decide they don't want anymore and put it in the dumpster for the facility.
That's correct.
The whole thing is designed to make that so it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
And if somebody does, that would basically be littering, and then the employee would take care of that with surveillance. So the idea is no customer garbage, so to speak.
That is correct. Carry in, carry out facility. So the trash cans will be rolled out to the curb because they are in a small section of the building inside the security gate. They'll be rolled out to the curb on trash day. Trash will be picked up by a private local hauler, and that will be coordinated. We anticipate maximum 2 days per week. It could be one, depending upon operations. Some additional operations with respect to the loading area. There is a security gate located on the drive aisle. The keypad is located on the west side, so anybody who wanted to get into that secure area comes in, enters their key code. The gate is a telescoping gate. It opens this way. Somebody enters and the gate closes. To exit that area, it is motion censored, so no need for additional keypad.
So unlike a lot of storage facilities that, people are familiar with, where you drive through the site, you park right in front of your unit, you basically open a garage door. It's not that type of facility, right?
Correct.
Everybody goes in through the front door, uses the elevator, and it's all interior.
That is correct. There's a couple of access doors within this loading and unloading area. The architect can touch on those exact locations a little bit further, but Yeah, the facility is mainly an internal operation. There's very little activity that occurs outside, other than that loading and unloading activity.
And that's all under the roof?
Correct.
Okay, please continue.
So I've generally discussed the layout and the operations at this point. I would like to note that we are requesting variance relief from two requirements with respect to the principal building. One is for the minimum front yard setback along Route 35, which is on the east side of the building. The requirement is 25 feet. We are requesting variance for 23.3 feet. And then the maximum building height is 27.5 feet, 2 stories. We are proposing 32.5 feet and 3 stories. And this is the building height measurement based on the base flood elevation. That variance also requires a use variance, which you'll hear a little bit more on from our planner. Some additional site improvements include landscaping. We are proposing a landscaping design that was done by a certified landscape architect on my staff. There's a variety of landscaping throughout the site, including 18 different types of plantings. They're used to screen the basin and integrate various sizes and colors throughout the entire site. All of that planting is within these green areas that you see on the rendering on the west, north, east, and south sides.
So the landscaping, that's according to a schedule, and that's part of the site plan approval?
Absolutely.
So there's that could be enforced, it has to be maintained. So if a tree dies and, the site plan approval says there should be, the row of arborvitaes or whatever it is, and so that the board can be confident that that will stay and be maintained.
That's correct. It's part of an approved plan.
Okay, please continue.
And there's an indication that the sycamores on the ramp are to remain as well.
Absolutely. Yep. I was going to touch on that momentarily, but Mr. Savakul mentioned that these 4 existing trees on the north side of the property, they're all have a diameter of 24 inches or larger, are proposed to remain. They're all just on the property boundary or just off-site. So we are proposing 310 new plantings. That includes 9 ornamental trees, it's 32 total ornamental, evergreen, and deciduous trees, including 279 other evergreen, deciduous shrubs, ornamental grasses, and ground plantings.
And this rendering that you have here, that is precise, right? Where you see a particular plant, that's right off the site plan, and there's a schedule shows that plant.
That is correct.
All right.
So this landscaping design was done to meet the tree replacement requirements from the borough's ordinance, and it complies with the landscaping requirements as well. We are proposing a 6-foot black aluminum fence along the western property line, separating subject property from lot 15, which is the auto body use. We are requesting variance relief for the size of the fence. In a side yard, typically 4 feet is required. We are proposing a 6-foot fence for security, and that same 6-foot fence will be used for that internal security gate. We are providing the required 5-foot front yard landscape buffer that's along Elizabeth Avenue, Route 35, and the U-turn. We are also providing the required 10-foot side yard landscape buffer along that western property line. We are not proposing any sidewalk within the right-of-way along Elizabeth Avenue or Route 35. We do feel that the site it's somewhat isolated, given that you have the DOT U-turn on the north side of the property, and then just beyond these commercial uses to the south, there's really no other facilities to the south of the subject property. So to the extent we need to, we will request a waiver from providing that sidewalk.
The area, excuse me, the area on the right of the building.
Yes.
It appears from here that that's a pond or a water area.
Yes.
And also at the top left-hand side, there's another area which would be some type of a pond with a fountain or something in it. And but I live in this area. I must go through here 10 times a day. The trees
backing that up, are they gonna be in front of the they're in front of the building, but between the lake and the pond and the building? Is that a fully grown tree? Is that going to be allowed to continue there, or,
So
and down below? Or is that gonna be a shrubbery, or, I guess
it varies. So to answer your
it's
first,
optional, but it would be, because the others, I assume, are grown trees around on the curve.
the only trees that
Those
are,
would be allowed to grow apples, each, whatever.
yes, so,
That's on the curve, but before I noticed a wonderful idea was to put the pond in the northwest side,
certainly, so
because that's a terrible intersection.
to
You
answer
have to
your,
almost have your car turn to the right in order to see traffic at that point.
to answer your first question,
That
they,
area is opened up, and with a pond in there, when you bring a car down there, you're not taking your life in your hand anymore. That alone is an asset.
Understood. To answer your first question, yes, they are two stormwater basins. They are above-ground infiltration basins.
And on the south side by the turnaround, southeast side,
Correct, yes.
there,
This is an infiltration
there are
basin.
two roads, there's two exit road, an entrance exit, whatever you wanna make, to the defunct eating beer situation was been there for years, closed up. That's an exit road for them, or an entrance road, correct?
Yes. To answer your first question, these are two above-ground infiltration basins. So yes, they are the proposed
And on the
stormwater
corner-
management facilities.
On the corner of Elizabeth, there's a building, okay.
And
Go on to a second question.
sure,
Now-
we are
Now,
we
the
are
fence-
proposing a
The
number.
cyclone fence, is that your fence, or does that belong to the car repair place?
We're proposing a new fence along that property
Will be a
line.
new fence there, a new
Yes.
fence, which would, you people would be,
Yes, and all of the landscaping
that will-
shown, there's four existing trees along the U-turn that are existing trees, and one in the southeast corner that is an
Well,
existing
the-
tree.
the
Everything else
shrubbery
shown
on
is
the other
proposed.
side detracts from that anyway, so that would be an improvement, don't get me wrong. But it's not a necessary thing like the one on the northwest side. Northwest side is really a tough merge.
Understood. And we're not proposing buildings or structures in this area, other than a sign. So this is just a small basin and is not gonna detract from any sort of visibility. I know people stop at the stop bar here and look to the right.
That's a tough merge, very tough merge. You can't see, you gotta pull out almost into the traffic to get.
Certainly. But our development is to the southeast of that sightline, and will have no impact on existing conditions.
And
so-
on the southeast side, the shrubbery there where the turnaround, does that belong to you people, or does that belong to the town?
It's all proposed and it'll be on site.
That shrubbery is all surround, visibility is poor there, you can't see coming from the south. It's a lot worse than what it shows there, around that pole, there's a pole there.
Understood.
And it-
So this is a brand-new landscape
and of course
design.
you
We're
can't-
removing
can't
the
get
existing
out there
security
because it's a
fences that are there.
turnaround. It's a turnaround.
So to continue with stormwater management, the site is considered to be a major project, and it was designed to meet all of the state and local stormwater requirements for quantity, quality, groundwater recharge, and green infrastructure. We have the two above-ground infiltration basins, which will be screened with landscaping, and they shouldn't be visible from the surrounding right-of-way. The roof leaders from the building will be discharged to one of those two basins. They will be stormwater will be released at a controlled rate into the existing infrastructure and the surrounding right-of-way. The board's engineer provided a couple of stormwater comments within his review letter. We've already rerun some calculations and analyzed those, and we feel we could address the stormwater comments within the letter. And we'll continue to work with the board engineer as a condition of approval to do so. one thing I'd like to mention, there is an existing storm pipe that runs directly across the property from west to east. It follows this property line on the north side of the auto body use. It connects two DOT structures, and there is an existing easement with the borough for maintenance of that existing pipe. We are proposing to relocate that pipe around the perimeter of the development, the perimeter of the building. And we will be upsizing that from 30 inches to 36 inches to not only maintain capacity, but also increase capacity in that pipe.
We have, what's the status with the DOT approving that relocation?
It will be part of a minor access permit that is pending with the DOT.
And with your discussions with them, you expect that to go through?
Yes, we've had some preliminary discussions with them about this modification. And then just another point, it is a borough easement. I don't know if the borough intends on maintaining the easement for that pipe, or if it's really a DOT easement. But we would be willing to work with the DOT and the borough to determine that relocated easement and responsibility.
Just to pause a second, Ray, is the answer on the stormwater that they've done their calculations, can address most of it, and be willing to work with you moving forward? Does that satisfy everything?
That's acceptable. I had an opportunity to speak with the engineer today, and we went over it a little bit, and I didn't see any reason to put anybody to sleep by going over it line by line.
Thank you.
I was looking forward to reviewing that, actually.
So you said it's a borough easement?
That's based on our findings, yes.
Because I just assumed it's a DOT pipe draining the DOT right of way.
We did too. That was a surprise to us.
So I would suppose in that regard, then, the borough itself would have to extinguish the easement since you're putting a building on top of it, or relocate the easement.
Yes, I agree.
I don't know if this is coming up in your prepared testimony, but the stuff about truck size and turnarounds and all that, I don't think that's been fully touched on yet, right?
Sure.
In terms
So the interior loading spaces are sized to accommodate an SU-30 truck, which we anticipate will be the largest truck that enters this facility. An SU-30 is essentially a box truck, a 30-foot long box truck. In our site plan package, the last sheet of our site plan, we do have an SU-30 circulation exhibit and show that truck entering.
Do you know what page it is?
It's the last one from the site plan set, so 16, I believe. Yep.
There we go. 16.
Yep. So the truck enters the facility. It's able to back up into one of those 3 oversized parking stalls, stage in that area, and then continue out.
Those are computerized templates, right? That's not just...
Correct. Yeah, that's run from real-world analysis.
And would you say a WB-30?
It's an SU-30.
SU-30.
Single unit box truck.
All right, please continue. Does that answer your question, Mr. Strunches?
Yeah, I think so. And then you said there's gonna be no garbage trucks coming on to get dumpsters out, right?
Sure, yeah, so the garbage truck and a fire truck, we don't anticipate either of those trucks will actually come onto the site and under the building. They would stay within the right-of-way. There's a cul-de-sac out in Elizabeth Avenue that could be used for turnaround purposes if needed. It's a very lightly traveled road. So yeah, we don't anticipate those trucks entering the site.
Since we're backtracking and kind of interrupting your testimony,
It's okay.
the engineer had provided a calculation for what he shows as 13 parking spaces. You'd given an alternative calculation that showed you made it with 9 or 8, I believe it was. Can you give some testimony to this discrepancy?
Sure. The IT parking requirement that is noted in the letter for a mini warehouse, it subsumes the office within that requirement. So the office calculation being separate from the mini warehouse, calculation. You don't need to add those together. The warehouse itself covers the entirety of the use.
Concur?
Yes, I do, and Mr. Taylor, as a traffic engineer, could provide further
Okay.
testimony if you want to hear from him, but he does that for a living.
Okay, thank you.
I did my homework and spoke with the traffic engineer as well. Just a couple more items to touch on. I mentioned earlier the entire subject property is within the flood hazard area. This building, we couldn't elevate it above the flood hazard elevation or the board's freeboard requirement, so we will be dry flood proofing this use up to 1 foot above the requirement per borough ordinance.
So I just wanted to be clear on, so the borough has a 3-foot freeboard requirement. So you're saying it's 1 foot above the 3-foot freeboard requirement, or are you saying you're not gonna go to the 3-foot freeboard requirement? Just want to be clear about that.
I believe we're required to go to the 3-foot freeboard requirement
Yes, you are.
per building code,
And so what I heard was 1 foot above that, 4 feet.
is, we will go to the extent that we need to.
I don't know.
The 3-foot freeboard requirement is in excess of the DEP requirement. So if we only have to go to the 3 feet, that's what we'll do. If we need to go 1 foot beyond that, we need to meet borough code. So whatever that requirement, however that reads, we'll meet that requirement.
Is that driven by the New Jersey Rail and the new regs that are coming in?
So if you want to provide some testimony on that.
Sure. So the real requirements, although they were adopted earlier this year, there is a grandfathering period. We anticipate this application will be before the end of that grandfathering period with the DEP. And I don't know if that changes the borough's ordinance at all with regards to their freeboard requirement, but yeah, we anticipate being in there within the grandfathering period.
Thank you.
Just a couple of other loose ends. The geotechnical report indicated that there's existing fill on site, including loose natural gravel and topsoil below grade to varying depths. The recommendation was possible over excavation or ground improvement by way of grammed aggregate piers was one example. So we will do what we need to the existing site, the existing soil, to either over excavate and bring in suitable fill, or to provide ground improvement to the means necessary. And that's to provide, in order to construct with standard footings and foundations.
Do you know if the material has been sampled for what's known as historic fill?
I don't believe it was. They own the applicant owns the property. Phase 1 was not required, just based on the nature of their ownership and the nature of the use. So I don't believe that was tested, not to my knowledge. And we are proposing new utilities to the site. That's new water, sewer, electric, and gas service. New sewer service will connect within Elizabeth Avenue. The new water service will connect within Route 35 southbound. It's my understanding a new water main was just constructed on the west side of the roadway. So we'll be moving our connection location from the right side or east side of that road to the west side. We are proposing a new gas connection within Elizabeth Avenue and new underground electric connections within Elizabeth Avenue. Associated with those new utility improvements are a hot box for the water service. So a single water service comes in, goes into the hot box. There's a backflow preventer as it does split into a domestic and a fire service within that hot box. So the hot box is considered to be an accessory structure located in the front yard. We are requesting variance relief from providing that structure. And similarly, we are proposing a transformer along that Elizabeth Avenue frontage, which is considered to be an accessory structure within a front yard. I should note that those pieces of equipment, they're away from the front office area. They are screened with landscaping. But they are located within the front yard technically.
Is the fire department connection in the hot box? Or is it just-
The FDC is going to be a separate component. It'll be just outside of the hot box, but very near the water service connection to the building. And the last item I wanted to touch on is signage, and you'll hear a little bit more from our architect, but we are proposing one monument sign in the northwest corner of the property. In this location, it is set back 16.5 feet from the right-of-way, which exceeds the ordinance requirement, and it is 40 square feet in height, which complies with the borough sign regulations. And we are proposing one building-mounted sign on the east side of the property. Similarly, this is 40 square feet in size and complies with the ordinance requirements, so we're not requesting any relief from the signage requirements. So in summary, we're proposing a new state-of-the-art facility on a currently underutilized property, I would say. There's a significant reduction in impervious coverage. We're going from an open gravel parking lot to a building with stormwater management facilities and landscaping that doesn't exist today. And we are also eliminating those existing curb cuts along the U-turn, which we feel is an improvement to safety in the area and the surrounding roadway network. So that's my direct testimony. And
One thing we
and
left
summary.
out.
Sure. James is going to touch on
Okay,
lighting.
architect, okay.
But I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board or the board's engineer may have.
Anyone on the board have any questions of the engineer? Ray, you good at the moment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Jackson has me trained to let the train go by.
It's my water break.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions of the engineer's testimony? They would be questions specific to that testimony. Yep.
Question
Come on, you gotta come up and state your name and,
Mike Messerall. You're looking for clearance to get up above the zoned height, the overall building height?
Yes. Yes, we are requesting variance relief, and it's also a use variance.
And I was wondering if those elevations included the elevators, the elevator machinery rise up above the total height?
It does. I don't believe that's included in the building height definition. I believe the height requirement goes to a certain point that excludes the elevators. But we do have the architect.
the architect will
who can-
probably address that a little more.
I see. And the electrical transformers out front, are they gonna be surrounded by a waterproof wall? Because that area, that whole street floods about 3 or 4 times every year.
Understood. To the extent that they need to be flood-proofed, elevated, they will be. They'll meet the standard code requirements. We will continue those conversations with the utility provider.
Anyone else? You have one?
No, I said
Oh.
good question.
Next.
With your permission, our
Professional.
architect?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You swear affirm the testimony you give before this board will give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Your name?
Good evening. My name is James Dankovich from BWD Architects. Would you like me to spell it?
Please.
Dankovich. My professional history, I've worked at BWD Architects for about 20 years. I've been licensed in New Jersey since 2017. I got my degrees at University of Buffalo for my bachelor's and Virginia Tech for my master's degree. And I've presented in front of several nearby boards, such as Toms River, Eatontown, and Middleton.
Thank you. We accept. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. I see you have an outline of your testimony.
I do.
Why don't you just go through your outline, and I'll pause and
Sure.
ask questions as we go along, so.
Our-
What exhibit do you want me to put up first?
Our engineer was quite thorough, so hopefully I don't repeat too much of what he said. If you could start, I wanted to actually start with the renderings. So
Okay.
P201. I noticed you
Do you wanna go to
reorganized a little
your
bit.
architecturals, or the ones I have in the PowerPoint?
Sorry, yeah, this one here is P201. All right, so this rendering is showing the building's main facade along Cincinnati Avenue. The design features a mix of materials with a stone veneer base, metal canopies, door display windows, and EBIS facade. On this facade, this is the door display windows that show storage unit doors. It's not an active corridor, it's just to help identify the building. And on the left side of this is where our main office is and the entry to the loading area off Elizabeth Ave. As you continue around the corner and around the jug handle here, this is where our primary signage is and actually where the yard variance is on this corner. And so it's a prominent corner that really helps create the calm, unified design on this facade, and we think that having that small easement there really helps make this have a stately appearance. This signage, as mentioned by the engineer, will be compliant with the zoning resolution with some external illumination and maximum 40 square feet. Could you go to the next rendering?
You said external illumination.
So this is from the left.
There's a question about external illumination?
Yes, it's external illumination. This is coming around that corner, and as those previously mentioned existing sycamores are right here along that curve, and this is the Goodyear here on the right.
So let me make sure I have the orientation here. So this, you're heading on 35 north, you go around the jug handle, now you're
Mhm.
turning around back to go back on 35 south,
Yeah,
and you see the Goodyear on your left.
that's right.
Okay, please continue.
And so, so this rendering shows another door display area with a metal canopy. Something we tried to do with these elevations is structure it so even though we're putting that third floor in, because of the way the windows and canopies are designed, it gives the appearance of a two-story building still. On this corner, we also have our monument sign. It says self-storage now, but that'll be coordinated with the operator's design standards to display their signage. All right, could you go to the architectural site plan?
Which one?
That was on. Actually, I think maybe one more the other way.
The other way?
There
Okay,
it is.
thank you.
So this site plan is showing our buffer yards along here, our yards and setbacks. This is that one corner we mentioned previously with the very small.
So I guess on the one hand, you could say, that's just a tiny little encroachment, right?
Mhm.
Why, so it's not a big deal, but on the other hand, why have it?
I think trying to clip that corner would create an awkward appearance on that side of the building. I think that really fits in with the design aesthetic that we're going for with that prominent tower in the middle, flanked by the, I think, appropriate signage. I think it's gonna look elegant and have a good appearance on that facade.
Thank you, please continue.
All right, so a lot of the testimony about the loading was covered by our engineer, but this is going to be a 3-story, 79,000 gross square foot building, Class A modern self-storage facility. Be fully sprinklered, non-combustible building with a remote central monitoring system. The building will be approached only along Elizabeth Avenue, and as mentioned, there will be a gate with a keypad for existing customers to get into the loading area, and parking out front for customers to access the office and rent a unit.
Let me ask you a question. This isn't your first self-storage building, right?
No, it's not.
And you've done designs for national self-storage, but you know what their programs are.
Yes.
I know what Mr. Taylor is going to say as far as ITEs, et cetera. In your experience as someone who designs self-storages for this type of facility, what's your sense of the parking? Is that sufficient?
Yeah, this is very typical of a facility this size. Actually, it's a little more. Often we see it's about 1 parking space per 10,000 square feet of storage, and we're about 80,000 square feet, so it's a little bit higher than we typically see. I think because we also have a lot of upper floor units, there's more people with smaller spaces that are taking the elevator up. And they don't bring as large vehicles because they're smaller spaces up there. So I think the maneuvering space and having that many large size parking spaces is probably a little more than is necessary. So back to the loading and access, typically our customers are our families, small businesses, bringing their own personal vehicles. As mentioned, the largest size truck is an SU30, which is also the largest that you can rent typically without a commercial license. So it's generally going to be households and local businesses that use this facility.
So the SU30, that's a pretty big truck, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay. So like it's as big as you could get at U-Haul
And it's
without a special license?
That's my understanding. That's typical in most states. And I don't think we have a lot of very large units. We only have a limited amount of 10 by 30s, which would be the size unit you might bring a truck that big for. So that's those reddish pink units here.
Please, I'm sorry, what's the dimension of those?
10 by 30. So going back to the loading, actually this is great to move on to this page though.
Go here? Okay.
Yeah, sure. So the elevator core is right here in the center of the building with a oversized telescoping sliding door that you might see at a big box store or a large grocery store. So a tenant or a customer would have an access code. They'd punch in to open the door, and inside there will be several carts that people can bring out to their vehicles. So even if they park over here, they can load up their cart, wheel it in, and then they'll punch in their code again to access the elevator. The elevators will only go to the floor that their unit is on based upon the code they have. So in regarding the elevator machine room, that will be adjacent to these elevators, not on the roof. There will be an elevator penthouse. Typically that's going to be 3 to 4 feet above the surface of the roof, but this is far back from the edge of the roof and shouldn't be visible from the ground. The exterior access units are these hatched ones that were mentioned in the engineer's testimony. They'll have a door to the outside and be non-conditioned units, and there's only a limited amount at this facility.
So you said non-conditioned units. I forget if we discussed that or not. The units are climate controlled. Please explain to the
Yes.
extent that they're climate controlled. You told me the temperature range, why you do that. And
So
then we'll talk.
the remainder of the units are climate controlled, typically 55 to 85 degrees. So they're heated to 55 and they're cooled to 85 degrees in the summer. This is primarily so that furniture doesn't warp, clothes don't become musty, books don't mold. And it's not for human comfort. So it's the idea is that we don't need to use as much energy in these facilities to condition them for people, say at a gym where people are exercising or an office where people are there all day. It's really just to keep materials safe and prevent them from deteriorating. All right. I think a lot of this was already covered. But we have a 24-hour video security system. So not only do we have access control with the keypads to get in and operate both the gates and the elevator, there are going to be video cameras throughout the facility recording all the entrance points and the elevators to make sure that there's no burglaries or other.
So you're familiar with the state of the art for storage facilities, working for all the national brands, I'll call it. What is that? Can people go online and reserve their unit and then get their key code and have no interaction with the person in the office? Can it be kind of
They're trying to become more frictionless. And what I understand from the large operators is depending upon the facility, they have usually between 30 and 60% of their customers rent online and come to the facility, get assigned a unit and a code, and don't interact with the office at all. As the engineer mentioned, the office will typically have some retail components, so if people forget to bring a lock or they run out of packing tape or need some bubble wrap, they can pick some up at the office. And there's also customer restrooms there.
So let's talk about that office and the restrooms, because that was one of the issues in the review letter. The office of 900 square feet drove a parking space. So let's just there's more to this office, explain it.
Yeah, so usually the office will also contain a break room for the employee, 2 restrooms, one that is accessed off the
What's the
storage
train?
area.
Wait for the train,
Oh,
it's loud. All right, so you said there's a break room and then there's 2 bathrooms?
break room, 2 bathrooms, there's usually a security closet that'll contain all of the equipment for the security monitoring system.
So here I go being an amateur architect, but for example, if the bathrooms are here, one would have a door to here and one would have a door out to there.
Yeah, yeah. Generally, we'll inbound everything a little bit more, so we'll try to tuck most of that in this corner so that, you know, the retail spaces and break room can have windows. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Often there'll be a janitor's closet in here as well. If for some reason the layout doesn't quite work, we might actually have to take out that 5x5 and put a janitor's closet there. But we try to keep that all together so we don't have long plumbing runs, since the water room is right there on the other side of the stair.
All right, you want to continue with your outline?
Sure. So as mentioned, all of the first floor units are, other than the exterior access ones, will be conditioned. You'll be entering from one of the 2 main lobbies. But then, you know, more than 2/3 of the units are upstairs. So 2/3 of our customers are gonna be taking the elevator to go up to the next floor. On this floor, the second floor, as mentioned by the engineer, this is set back to allow for the clear height needed for the loading vehicles. In this type of design, we usually have about 17 feet clear, so that gives us plenty of room to run our sprinkler system under here, lights, and not have any incidents with vehicles colliding into anything. All the units on this floor will be conditioned, and as mentioned, they'll come up through the elevator. On the 3rd floor, once again, the units are all conditioned, elevator access only, and these are the 3 door display areas, which are purely for helping to identify the building. They're not visible. There's no access to units from those, so that it's not like somebody's has a door open and you can see everybody's junk in there. It's, people's prized possessions in there. So that from the street, it looks clean at all times. It doesn't look like it's
So you're talking about this space here as a blank space?
Yes, it'll have unit doors here, so it helps give the building a little bit further identity so people know they're going to the right building. I think especially with a building like this that doesn't immediately read as a self-storage facility.
All right. Please continue.
Sure. So the next slide is the roof plan. And on this plan, what we're showing is the elevator penthouse, as mentioned. I think I just ran out of battery. Oh, sorry. Elevator penthouse and the mechanical units. So those mechanical units are a conventional split system. They'll be the residential size. Typically, we'll have 3 to 5 per floor, and they're only, the units on the roof are only about 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet.
And this is because you only have to maintain 55 and 85, right?
It's partly that, and it's partly for redundancy. So if one unit goes down, you still have 4/5 of the units on your floor running, and also for repairs. Since they're a very common unit type, it's very easy to get quick repairs. So it's both reliability, redundancy, and replaceability.
Well, do you expect these units to be visible from the street?
No, not at all. We keep them in from the edge, both for safety reasons for maintenance and because then from the street you can't see them.
All right. So that's a good segue to what Mr. Mesereau had asked about the height.
Yeah, so the building is actually 32.5 feet from height per the zoning definition. There are some parapets on the facade to help break up the massing and help create that design that are higher than that height, but they are not part of the height measurement for the zoning code. This is actually, can you zoom back out? Okay, this facade is actually the one all along Newark Avenue, and this shows the main design concept of that stone base with some stone towers to help bring the design together. And then those second floor windows to help give that visual illusion of being a 2-story building, along with the lower metal canopy.
So these aesthetics, the windows, the bricks, the awnings, they're actually going to be built that way. That's part of our application. That's
Yes.
part of our promise and
Mhm.
a condition of our approval that it will look just like this.
Yes.
What about the colors? Are they true to what it will be? or-
I'm not sure what the final operator is, if we're, if perhaps it's a CubeSmart, their traditional color is red, so we might change those storage doors on the door displays to red rather than blue. So that would be the only major changes. And then, if it's a CubeSmart sign, it would be CubeSmart in red. If it were an extra space, we'd go with green. So those are the only adjustments we intend to make to the elevation.
Okay. All right, so I think we were going to talk about the lighting plan.
Sure, so the primary site lighting is provided by wall packs around the perimeter of the building, as well as some lights up in that loading area to illuminate the loading spaces.
So I don't know that the Board of Adjustment gets a lot of these, but all those little numbers, those are all,
That's the
values,
measurement of
explain
foot
that.
candles, yeah. So the loading areas have at least a minimum of 1/2 foot candle throughout the space, much more than that typically, and no more than 1/2 along the perimeter of the site. So we don't have light spilling off our site into other properties. But we do have sufficient light in those loading areas, so when people pull in, they feel safe and secure, and that they don't feel like they're working in the building.
and these values are a condition of our approval, and they're all measurable, right? So if
Mhm.
the light was amped up, zoning could go out there and measure it and say your lights are out of compliance with your site plan, fix it.
That's right.
Look, don't, so, okay, so,
When you say wall pack, are they dark sky, or are they?
Yes, they have a sharp cutoff. I believe we have those selections on the next page. Oh, I guess you didn't get the next page.
well, let me go to your architectural site plan you have.
They're there, so they're the ones on the left side here. These are the wall packs with the cutoffs. But we do the selection in a white color, so they blend into the facade better.
And again, those are all scientific values with
Yes,
actual
measurable
measurable.
values, yeah.
Okay.
There's smartphone apps now that can measure them.
Okay. Anything else in your outline?
I think that's everything.
Well, the most important thing, let's talk about floodproofing. How are you going to make this building so that it will comply with the FEMA regulations? And
Sure, if you'd like to go back to the first floor plan?
the first floor,
Just want to discuss that?
right there, one more.
Yeah, so typically in this type of project, what we would do is this perimeter wall would be an assembly on the interior side of a reinforced CMU wall, and that would have a waterproof membrane on the outside between it and the veneer. So the veneer would cover up the CMU wall and the facade, so it would appear as those elevations, but the strength of that wall would be able to support the water loads on the building, and the membrane would keep it from saturating those materials. At these doors along the stairs, electric room, sprinkler room, and the other stair, those would all be a dry flood-proof door designed so that when closed, water couldn't penetrate those doors. For the storage units and the entry lobbies and storefront areas, those would have to have a dry flood proofing system. We would probably do a temporary system that would have to be deployed during a flood event, so it would have to be installed by the manager, or oftentimes landscaping contractors will be involved in this.
A little bit like putting up storm shutters.
Yeah, but it's definitely something you have to prepare for the event. So if it's an event with no warning, there could be a problem. But if it's a storm that is people are aware of, they can actually put those things into service. But a lot of the building itself would be protected just by the design alone.
And in your experience, I'm
If I
sorry.
may, just a follow-up question to that. In an unexpected storm event, the flood proofing for those particular units is not implemented.
Yeah.
What is the interior structure like? Is that going to protect interior units beyond it?
I think the main issue is the type of doors that are used at these lobbies there isn't a flood-proof door for that type. In order to do a flood-proof door at those locations, we have to switch to a hollow metal type door. And those aren't ideal for our material handling, because what a lot of people are doing here is carrying a couch inside, right? And so that, you know, operating a swing door at the same time can cause a lot of problem. So it would be up to the management team to be aware of these events and implement those.
Is that compatible with regulations and code requirements for that type of, to get the approval and meet all codes?
Yeah. So yes, these systems would all be per New Jersey Safe Building
Yeah,
Code.
what's the feasibility of bringing the floor up to elevation 14 or whatever it would have to be? Is that what it would be, about 14?
So it's in an AE10 on the firm, so with a 3-foot freeboard, it has to be 13. Or, right, to be out of the front.
Oh, yeah, at a minimum, it'd be an incredible amount of fill, as well as providing accessible access and proper vehicular access would be difficult, because you have steep driveways and a lot of challenges actually getting the building up that high.
Okay, so the feasible alternative is to meet the code by making a flood-proof building?
Yep.
All right.
And in this case, having a flow-through building like you see in a lot of raised beach houses doesn't make as much sense, because we have such a large footprint that is sort of infeasible. So we couldn't do the flood vents where it would just flow through 100 feet of building. That wouldn't be possible.
Thank you, so.
So it looks like there's roughly 12 of the exterior units that would require flood proofing
Mhm.
in a flood event.
Yeah, and then probably 4 doors. So these 2 lobby doors, this lobby door, and the office door.
Okay, thank you.
So those are, we've covered
So,
your outline?
Mr. Jackson, if I could just interrupt, just a little bit more on that, just for the board's edifications. I mean, I'm certainly familiar because, having been associated with the borough, that we had pushed the DOT to try to upgrade their drainage system, which, you know, they've been in process of for many years. But I'll just, and as part of that, we submitted some documentation with regard to road closures of ramp C, which is what the DOT knows it as. That ramp is called ramp C, which has flooded numerous times. But I'll just note for the board's knowledge that based on the site plan submitted, that the low point of ramp C is about 4.3 or so. As you come into the ramp from Route 35 northbound, and the first floor elevation as proposed is 9.3. So it's about 5 feet higher than the roadway surface of that ramp. So in a thunderstorm, to your question, Mr. Davis, in a thunderstorm, you say, well, the road floods, you know, the guy's not gonna get out there and be able to guard all the doors, but he's 5 feet higher than the road elevation. So there is, it will take a significant event to reach that
So there's the
elevation.
technicality of their approval, which would meet FEMA by doing all the right things, having all the things in place, and then there's a practicality of the site, which means that 5 feet stops a lot of the building flood from potentially happening
Right.
unless something really bad happened.
In my opinion, yes.
So are the catch basins that you guys designed into this project located on the lower end of the property, so the water's gonna flow into those?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Yeah, the catch basins that you have on the property, there are 2 of them. They're going to be on the low end of the property, so if water does run off or we get a bad storm, per Mr. Savakal's discussion, that the water will flow into them?
I think that's a better question for our engineer. It looks like he's looking it up.
Matt, you want to address that?
He's looking at it.
So there's not necessarily like a significant low end of the property. Like that one point on the north side, around the U-turn is the low point around the perimeter.
Mhm.
It does grade up pretty quick from there, to get into the site. The outer perimeter is lower than the interior of the site, so yes, to an extent, those basins are on the lower side. But as far as where the runoff from the site goes, or where it's collected, it's from the roof, and the roof discharges to those basins. So they're now the proposed low points of the site, and they're generally the existing as well.
So water always goes to the lowest level that it finds.
Correct. And then they connect from those two basins into the existing infrastructure in the right of way.
Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone on the board have any other architectural questions?
Real quick one, and I think you answered it without me asking it, but these stairwells, are they gonna have emergency exit doors on the ground level?
Yeah.
I thought you'd mentioned it in a roundabout way.
Two questions, and one's kind of a scenario question. First off, with all this roof, why no solar? If electrical requirements are so low, why no solar?
Have you guys considered solar?
Yes.
It's a possibility. I don't think we've evaluated whether that's something we plan to do or
Yeah.
not, so.
The
Frank,
building is-
Frank, you'll have to go through that because you're not sworn in yet, so you just, he can have his chance to answer that later.
Okay, that's fine.
Architecturally, we can provide a design that could support a solar system on the roof.
I was just curious of that. So scenario-based question, because I'm trying to think of how this facility is going to be used and by whom. With 4,500 year-round residents in Point Pleasant Beach, I can't really see that the demand within the residency is all that high. But certainly, to a certain degree, what I really see is weekenders and summer homeowners packing their outdoor furniture into places like this for storage for the winter. So on the Friday before Memorial Day weekend or the week before 4th of July, a mad rush of people coming to get their stuff out of storage. So I'm thinking, and I'd like you to try to, if you think that that's a realistic scenario, and if so, a push demand to have access to this with only 9 available parking spaces. It's just a little tight.
I think that's a good question. I think we're gonna defer to the traffic engineer on
Okay.
peak times and what they expect.
Might be
for
traffic and
peak
some
trips.
planning
Yeah.
and mixed into that answer. I don't know architecturally.
Okay, fair enough. That
You
can
know,
wait.
Yep. Come back to it.
Okay, so those are all the questions I have of the architect.
Ray?
So I just have one more for the architect. You indicated that the exterior has a stone veneer on the base.
Mhm.
So even with the change in grade towards the eastern frontage, because the site plan says exposed foundation, but I think that's just an indication of the elevation. But those
Yeah, the veneer base will come to the grade.
will
yeah.
come to grade.
They probably have a couple inches they want it off of the earth just
Right,
for
right,
durability's sake, but that'll mostly be hidden by landscaping.
But it's not gonna be cut off at 9 and there's
Yeah, you're gonna have like
2.5
2 feet of, yeah,
cover.
yeah, no.
Okay.
I haven't built one of these buildings in a while. It's been quite a bit. But just a dumb logic question. Couldn't those units on that first floor have a drain in the floor in the unit? Just like right in the middle of the unit that would allow water to go right into the ground? If it came?
I guess it could. I think the concern would be if downstream is flooded, there's nowhere actually for it to drain to. So,
Yeah, I'm sure there's.
yeah. Typically in a
It's just a
smaller building,
thought.
we would do a flow-through, flood
Right.
design with the flood doors that open up when water is there, but,
I think with Mr. Savicles 5 feet above the point that mostly is what floods, and then if it's gonna be that big of a storm situation, those preparations that are available to the site manager would have to be deployed. So, does anyone in the audience have any questions of the architect? These would be specific to the architectural testimony. Mr. Jackson, next.
Well, since Mr. Justin Taylor's name came up, and there was a couple questions about traffic, I'll have him come up, or a planner, or he will address Mr. Davis's, peak demand and times and the market, et cetera, so.
Do you swear affirm the testimony that you give before this board will give the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Justin Taylor, Taylor. By way of background, I hold a bachelor's in engineering from the University of Delaware. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey, as well as Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Texas. I'm also a certified professional traffic operations engineer by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. I'm practicing traffic engineering for, 25 years now. I've testified at hundreds of boards throughout the state of New Jersey, including this board in the semi-recent past.
Yep, and I remember that, and we accept that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So just cover one thing, as far as trip generation, traffic generation. Is this the type of use or operation that's going to create traffic that cannot be handled? And is it a big traffic generator, a low, medium? Please explain.
Sure. So from a traffic perspective, per square foot, this is one of the lowest generators, lowest type of uses you could see. Using ITE data, we would say it's going to generate anywhere between 6 and 13 peak hour trips, if you're talking about the morning, the afternoon, or on a Saturday midday when people are coming to a storage facility. The DOT sets a threshold of 100 new peak hour trips as significant and potentially in need of study, and we're 10% of that. So basically, the impact of this, the surrounding roadway network, is going to be negligible. You're not going to notice any type of impact from this use.
So if this were residential or retail or a restaurant or something like that, like it's surrounded by that, would generate a lot more traffic than this as far as cars coming and going from it?
That's correct. Any type of the permitted uses that would be going on this site would generate much more traffic than what's proposed here.
So the way this is configured, you come in off of Elizabeth Avenue, you, from whatever direction you're coming from, you ultimately have to get there. You think that roadway can handle what we're proposing?
I do. I think there won't be any detrimental impact from the traffic, and I think Elizabeth, where it intersects with 35 southbound, provides good sight lines.
We are seeking a variance, as Mr. Bursch testified, for the entryway being, I don't know if it was closer or further or smaller or bigger. Can the entryway handle what we're doing?
Absolutely. I think it's designed to accommodate the largest vehicles that we anticipate, that SU-30 box truck of somebody coming in a U-Haul truck.
We're just nipping a little bit closer to the jug handle with the building, and we're getting, I forget if it's a foot or what. Will that have any impact on the site triangle of the turnaround, the jug handle?
No, it will not.
So as far as parking, you heard our architect testify based on his experience with this type of use. This number of spaces for this number of units is sufficient. What's your view as a traffic engineer, and what does ITE have to say about it?
Absolutely. I think
And what's ITE?
Sorry, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, and they publish trip generation data as well as parking generation data. Their manuals get updated every 2 to 3 years with current information that's submitted by traffic engineers throughout the country. And so we're constantly modernizing and updating the parking demands for various land use types. The most recent edition is the 6th edition of parking generation, and in that it says that your demand for self-storage facilities such as this is, as we've said, 1 per 10,000 square feet. So for the 79,000 and change, we would see a demand of 8 parking spaces. There are 9 provided, so it's my opinion that there is sufficient parking for the demand of the site. Now, Mr. Davis, it's a great point. I think you're going to have.
He always gets them.
And I think you're going to have more demand than you might think from the surrounding area for just some of the smaller units. But I absolutely concur with you that you're going to have people at the beginning and end of the season, they're storing their bikes and their chairs and their outdoor furniture. I think, though, that what will happen is it will almost self-police in the fact that you're trying to get this out. That first time, there may be some overlap. And then I think you'll start to schedule these appointments, which actually probably could be done by the management. But to go along with it, the fact that Elizabeth has the cul-de-sac area in that section provides another about 250 feet of stacking space that vehicles could queue if we have a higher demand than that we would typically see on an average weekend day. So I think that there's plenty of area there, especially because you're bringing your stuff in the back of the pickup truck. These people that are getting their outdoor furniture are not getting the 30-foot long U-Haul truck.
So this isn't like the Dunkin' Donuts on Herbersville Road where the drive-thru is backing out onto Herbersville Road and causing a problem. If that happens, we're in a space that can handle it.
Was that your approval?
What's that?
Is that your approval? I was not involved in that case.
No, I'm talking to John.
But no, I mean.
I cannot recall at this time.
management will have to work with here, but even if you have those surges, there's enough room in Elizabeth Avenue. It's not gonna back out on the 35. You're not gonna create havoc in this area with those drop-offs.
Thank you.
Okay.
So those are all the questions I have of Mr. Taylor for
So-
as far as traffic.
Your engineer made a comment about safety with the elimination of the two driveways on the turnaround, and they were both ingress and egress, I guess, and I would figure that someone coming off of a 40-mile-an-hour road and hitting a bend and eliminating those driveways, in your expert opinion, you're agreeing with him, I'm sure?
I absolutely
If
agree.
you
There's a
could test-
positive benefit to this application to remove those driveways.
Just from a safety perspective
That's
of
correct.
not having the chance to hit anyone there.
So when we started, we were initially looking at how you're gonna access the site, how you're gonna do it. And the very first thing we said is these, even though they're there, really aren't safe to be used. We really want them closed, and we want all the traffic coming in off Elizabeth.
And if they weren't there, in your opinion, would the DOT allow them to be constructed in that location?
No, absolutely not, right? In the deceleration lane area for the ramp C, or on the ramp, they're prohibited. They just date the access code.
Anyone else on the board have any questions for our traffic expert? Anyone in the audience have any questions on this testimony? Just gotta say your name again.
Mike Mazzaro, does this have any pertinence to pedestrian traffic? No sidewalks included in
sidewalks, no.
There are no sidewalks. This type of use doesn't really lend itself to pedestrian activity. It's very rare that you're coming to the self-storage either with stuff or to take your stuff. Walking up to the site, it's much more of a vehicle-driven
I mean, in the general
type of use.
public, transversing that area.
So there are no sidewalks currently along the frontage, and there are none proposed as part of the project.
That could be hazardous to kids on bikes and such. I think it should be considered.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to ride a bike on the sidewalk, but I don't know.
No, legally you're not.
Yeah,
There's no shoulder on 35 North.
So, yeah, we just think in this location, we think it would be better to pay in the pedestrian safety fund. This isn't a great spot for sidewalks, but that'll be the board's determination. In your view as a traffic engineer, you agree, concur with that?
Yes, I think it would be more beneficial to put sidewalks other places in town than in this location because the lack of pedestrian activity in this area.
You have any follow-up or any other questions?
It's too bad, because that whole end of town there's very little as far as sidewalks. And kids going to McDonald's, they're always just cutting through the parking lots.
We're gonna hold off on the comments for now, and it's question time, so you'll be able to come back and tell us that. Thank you. Mr. Jackson?
Our next, well, Mr. Frank Storino indicated to me if you'll just accept my representation, that is on the wish list and they'll study the feasibility. It is set up for solar panels on the roof. You know, maybe that will be something they would consider in the future if it was feasible and made sense, which it just might. But you know, they're certainly open to that and we'll explore that.
Okay.
So if you'll accept that representation, the next person would be Mr. Justin Osceola. He is our planner. Also, I could have, Frank Storino has an outline of the rules, regulations, operator, et cetera. We've done that with our other experts. Unless you have specific questions for the owner, I would rely on the representations of the other witnesses.
You swear affirm the testimony you give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do. Justin Auciello, Auciello, licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I've been licensed since 2008. I am a partner with Gafon Consulting Group, 3052 Reckless Place. We just moved, sorry about that, in Red Bank. I have been qualified as an expert witness before this board on multiple occasions. I've also been qualified by about 200 boards in the state of New Jersey over the course of almost 20 years. And importantly, I provided testimony on self-storage applications on about 20 occasions throughout my career.
I think that checks everything. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Osceola, I note that you have an outline and you can provide your testimony in narrative form with the chairman's permission. Have at it.
Great,
Right ahead.
thank you, sir. So For use variance applications, of course, we're here because this is a use that's not listed as permitted in the HC zone. I always like to root it in your master plan. Your master plan is your policy guidance for the municipality. It really sets the tone. And there are a few points that align, in my opinion, directly with this application. The first point, your master plan speaks to support private reinvestment in established non-residential properties. Obviously, that's happening with this application, the current state, the property on a highly visible location on Route 35, obviously, reinvigorates this property. Also calls for context-sensitive use, bulk design, buffering, and screening, as is seen in the exhibits and as testified by our site engineer and architect. I think we check all those master plan boxes. Master plan also speaks to supporting the restricting of impervious coverage to control stormwater runoff, as you heard from our site engineer. There will be a decrease in impervious coverage. And it also talks importantly, this is a highly visible property, master plan talks about the importance of the use of building materials, facade treatment, landscaping, green infrastructure, lighting, and site layout. As was testified by all the previous witnesses, we believe that that is directly aligned with the master plan. So for a use variance, as the board is aware, there are certain proofs that must be established. This is under the Medici case. And the first proof is suitability. What makes this site particularly suited for this use? As you can see in the exhibit, the site plan rendering, obviously this site is irregularly shaped. It has frontage on multiple roadways, and it's within the context of a highway commercial zone. Of course, this is not listed as a permitted use, and I'll get into that later. But it really fits within what's proposed. Really fits within the character of your typical highway commercial zone district. What's important here is that this surrounding area has been improving over time. The Strino family does own and operate some nearby sites, and this really fits within the family pattern of improving the Route 35 corridor with the use that's not only attractive but is also beneficial to the community. And also, what makes this suitable, the HC zone permits a wide variety of uses. It's actually the most permissive zone in the borough. Everything from retail recreation, restaurants, theaters, offices, etc. In the course of my career dealing with these types of uses, and as you did hear from our site engineer, this is a very low impact use, and that's also, that was evidenced by the fact, the testimony by our traffic engineer who talked that the very low traffic demand of this use. So I think when you look at what could go on the site versus what is proposed to go on the site, it really fits within the character of the area, of the zone, and not putting a use here that is incompatible with Route 35. In terms of the special reasons for the grant of this use variance, that comes from the purposes of zoning that are established under the municipal land use law. And I think there are multiple purposes of zoning that are advanced in conjunction with this application. The first would be Purpose A, which speaks to the promotion of the general welfare. As I had stated in my opening about the master plan, this is certainly a productive reuse of a highly underutilized commercial parcel. And there's also a big community benefit here of providing storage space for area residents. There is not a self-storage use within the borough. There's one up on Route 35 going towards Route 34, but it's pretty inconvenient for the borough residents. So this is also going to allow borough residents to utilize the space to put storage that may be otherwise stored on their property in the backyard or what have you, this gives, from a planning standpoint, I would hope that this would help to clean up some properties as well by allowing people to put storage in this use.
What about business people in town? Let's say you're a, plumber, electrician, and you just need space, or you sell stuff, you have inventory.
Absolutely.
One of the businesses downtown doesn't have enough room
Right.
to store things that.
Yeah, that's another benefit. Residents, business people, you don't have to go far. Literally, just go, right down the road to Route 35, and you have your storage space. So it's really a big convenience for commercial and residents. Purpose G, which speaks to the promotion of sufficient space in appropriate locations. As I had stated in my opening, certainly this site is well suited for this use, as buttressed by the civil testimony and the traffic engineer. There's also a reduction of impervious coverage by approximately 16,000 square feet. So this is not a situation where you're trying to shove a building onto this site. The site is well laid out and appropriate, and obviously with the screening and the landscaping, that's further evidence of that. Purpose H is a big one here, which speaks to the free flow of traffic. As you heard both from civil and our traffic engineer, there will be safety improvements to the circulation, the elimination of curb cuts on the U-turn. That's a big zoning benefit. Purpose I, promotion of a desirable visual environment. I'm not going to go into the weeds. The architecture, I think it really speaks for itself, but this is good civic design. The building itself is well articulated. It's really creating that appearance of the illusion of a two-story building. I think it really fits within a sense of place, on this corridor, and the landscaping, as well, adds a lot of character to the site, which obviously today doesn't really have much character. And lastly, criteria M, the efficient use of land. The adaptation of the site from what it currently is to a compatible low-intensity use is also, in my opinion, quite efficient on this corridor. So that's the positive criteria. In terms of the negative criteria and the reconciliation, I certainly don't see any substantial detriment to the public good that's associated, with this use. This site will be, operated, appropriately. There would be, rules and regulations within the lease that tenants would have to abide by. Professionally managed, and importantly, again, this is a low-impact use. In my experience, self-storage is on this spectrum of uses, one of the best uses you can find. Doesn't really generate much in the way of any activity, any operational activity for a municipality. And also, it's not a land use thing, but in terms of, tax revenue, this is one of the cleanest uses that generates, good tax revenue for the municipality as well. In terms of the reconciliation of your master plan does speak, as I had said in my earlier, a lot of strategies to ensure that sites are being cleaned up, productive uses are going in there, and there's attractive architecture. This certainly doesn't undermine any of that. In terms of the reconciliation of the zone ordinances, or this zone's omission of this use as one of the permitted use, again, on the spectrum of uses that are permitted in this zone, it's my opinion that this is the lowest impact out of those uses. Certainly, if the board so chooses to grant this relief, it would not fracture the intent of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. In terms of the D6 height variance, importantly, the architect did state that this use creates the illusion of a two-story building. I think that does fit within the character of the Route 35 corridor. I don't think it's out of scale. And certainly with the articulation and facade treatments, you know, I would say that the height is appropriate in that context. And lastly, in terms of the bulk variances, as were listed by the site engineer, I see them as both C1 and C2 variances. Variances, especially with the setback that's being driven by the irregular shape of the site, multiple frontages. In terms of C2, I would say the same purposes of zoning that I applied in the use variance apply here, but the architect also, you know, made a very good point. In terms of the setback, the front yard setback variance, he said that there is a design benefit of that, that allows this building to have a more you know, elegant appearance, as opposed if this use had complied, it would be a bit, you know, awkward. And given this highly visible location, as you heard from the site engineer, the traffic engineer, the site will be able to function appropriately, notwithstanding that bulk variance relief. So, just in conclusion, I, you know, certainly think that there are many benefits that are associated with this application. It's consistent with the master plan doctrine, does not fracture the zone plan, and certainly I think the benefits of granting this this use and the other variances certainly outweigh any detriments to the same.
Is it a use that, you know, what's the language from the statute? Creative?
Design techniques.
So by creating a building that's flood-proof in a zone where it would be hard to get cars up to the.
Right.
Does that fit with that we're providing a FEMA-compliant building that's flood-proof? It's kind of a creative way to solve that problem.
Yeah, and that fits within criteria I, and there's also a purpose of zoning too, which is to secure from fire and flooding. And that's a zoning purpose from the MLUL. So I think we're achieving you know, multiple purposes with that creative technique.
From a planning standpoint, balancing, when you consider that we were talking about the sidewalks, I just asked Mr. Bursch, those sycamores, they would be jeopardized if we.
Absolutely.
Probably, if we put a sidewalk to disturb the drip line.
Sure.
Who knows? And then also, however many square feet that is, to multiply that by a 3-foot sidewalk, that's a lot of area for impervious coverage.
It's a lot of area, you know, for coverage, and also from a planning standpoint, by removing any vegetation that may be there, or if the sidewalks would have any impact on the site itself in terms of any vegetation and site views, that really hurts the sense of place that we're trying to establish by virtue of this site design.
All right, so you heard Mr. Taylor say that in his view, the sidewalks would be better put somewhere else in a pedestrian safety fund where it would be better utilized.
Correct, I agree with that.
All right, thank you. Those are all the questions I have for Mr. Osceola.
Jack?
You spoke about the master plan and the ordinance and all. So this is highway commercial, this is, I guess it's for both of you, but you're doing the plan, you talked about it. It's highway commercial.
Thank you.
So is storage just omitted from there? Is it not expressly allowed, or?
That's a great question, and that's something that I have in my notes right here to mention. So thank you for that question. Yeah, so this is not listed as a prohibited use. There is a section in your ordinance which lists about 15 or so prohibited uses. The ordinance is silent with self-storage. It's silent with any similar term, you know, as well. I'm not surprised in a you know, borough like, you know, here, where, you know, self-storage is not typically a use that you would see. You would see them maybe in Wall or elsewhere. But this site is really well suited for it, you know, for all the reasons that I stated. So in short, it is not prohibited, it's just not listed. But I think when you look at the other uses in the HC zone, on the spectrum of those uses, in terms of, you know, operational impacts, you know, self-storage, in not just this zone, but anywhere in New Jersey, would be on the lowest end of any potential impacts to a municipality.
One more question, just to have it said out loud. Self-storage is a commercial use.
Correct. Yes, thank you.
Anyone else on the board have any questions of the planner? audience have any questions of the planner? Ray, then you guys are all good with everything? So we'll go to,
The only other question I had was, since there was relief needed from the fence, and I looked to see if there was a fence selected, and I don't know if you had any testimony with regard to the fence.
And then height.
We just proposed a 6-foot black chain link fence.
So it would be PVC coated?
Yes.
I don't know what it's called, wouldn't the
pool fence?
black fence, like, yeah, like a pool fence, wouldn't that look better?
You're very, right?
Yeah, we'll do the.
Yeah, those
Right,
aluminum
wouldn't it-
fences
it would
that
look
look like, you know, that people put around
Yeah,
their, as opposed to chain link, we'd be willing to do that.
yeah.
all right. Does anyone now in the audience, this is the time you can comment on the case, so you would come up and you get sworn in, and you tell us how you feel about it, if anyone wants to do that.
I guess so.
Yep, so you could come right up to court reporter, gonna get sworn in.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you give before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And address again.
Mike Nessela, and my address is 637 Woodland Avenue, Brielle, New Jersey. I own a building at 506 Elizabeth Ave. My only comment is, guys, I like the idea. It's kind of a low impact type of business. My only thing is the scale of it just seems too big for Point Pleasant Beach. It's gonna be the biggest building in Point Pleasant Beach in height and square footage. And I just feel that's a detriment to the town as far as having a building of that size. The whole area down here, it's very, it's not pedestrian friendly at all. Kids from high school, they're always coming through on bikes, but they're going from parking lot to parking lot, making their way down to McDonald's or Burger King. Parking, if you get 5 cars and they're all loading, I don't think it's not a 2-minute park. Right? You offload your stuff, you go into the place, you go up the elevator, you go up. You can park your car in there, you're gonna be in there half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. Maybe while other cars are starting to pile up, waiting to get in. I think they could use more parking. On busy days especially. It's not a residential, fire safety's not an issue, but the upstairs, that 3rd floor looked like a fire truck to me. Not that there's, as far as exits, the only exits and entrance, egresses are in that parking area. There's no other way to get in that building or out. That's about it, I guess. The town sets rules for elevation. Everybody seems to push the limits on it. Almost everybody is building anything. They want to make it higher than what the town allows. I would imagine the town has, sets these height limits for a reason, so that the town doesn't get built up looking like, Long Branch or something like that. So, and I think that's it. Thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you. That did bring a question that I want to get one clarification. I guess it would be architectural or engineer. Are there no emergency exits anywhere else other than that? Because that would be weird, that I would feel like I would just see some door on the back of the building that you can't get in, but it says
There are
emergency
2
exit.
egress stairs. Could you go to one of the floor plans?
There's nothing in there, there's nothing burn.
Because when he had made
Yeah,
the
so-
statement that the only way in is the lobby.
Yeah,
in and
there are
out.
these 2 egress stairs on either side.
Okay,
And it's not designed yet. We would probably egress from the 1st floor both through this stair, these 3 entrances here, but not this stair.
What about emergency?
in an emergency, these doors are designed to have breakout panels so that if you just run into the door, they pop out and they go in the direction of travel. So if there was an emergency, people could get out. And the sprinkler monitoring system is required to have audible alarms and strobes so that if a sprinkler head runs, it sets off the alarms and it will make it obvious to everyone in the building that there's something going on. So people will then egress through the 2 staircases.
And I'm assuming there's some regulation to all this that you're meeting, some standard?
Yeah, it's in the building code.
Yep, got it,
And so on the upper floors, those 2 stairs would be used for the egress.
got it. Okay, thank you.
I got a curiosity question.
Sure.
Is each unit sprinkled, right?
Yep.
Sprinkled, or whatever you.
Yeah.
If there's an issue in one unit, do all sprinkler heads go off? or just-
No, so they're, I guess you don't have sprinklers.
No,
They're heat
in this room,
activated,
we
so-
just die.
Well, this is only a 2-story building, so. They're heat activated, so when hot gases cause, it's usually a little small vial of mercury that expands quickly and breaks open, and that allows the water to flow through the sprinkler. So generally only in the area of the fire, the sprinklers activate. And the sprinklers are very effective. There's usually very little harm in a sprinkler building if it's properly maintained and operated.
Yeah, I just wanted to be educated on it, I was curious.
Mr. Loader?
Yes, for the architect question. So the height of your current designs, it's exceeding our limits by 5 feet. The height that you have designed this building the height is being caused by your ability to try to make the building more flood proof and meeting our own ordinances to, make it safer and make it less damaged in case that we do have a flood.
Well, I think 2 of the main drivers are actually that sprinkler system, because the heads of those sprinklers are required to be a certain height above any possible obstructions. In order to be a habitable space, you have to be 8 feet tall. The sprinkler head has to be 18 inches above that, and it can be no closer than 2 inches to the ceiling. So that sort of sets the floor heights of these buildings, and that's really what drives how tall these buildings are. And actually, they're shorter than a typical commercial building because we don't have the same level of ductwork necessary. So in an office building or primarily office buildings, you have a lot more ductwork through there. So you have to get the ducts around to all the vents, and chances are there's about 2 feet of space above this drop ceiling to the structure above
Yeah,
it.
because I see the difference in the floor heights. You're up to like 10.4 and you're then 3.
Yeah, and
and
a
then
typical
you go up
office
to
space will be
14
12 feet
you
or
go
so.
up to 14
Yeah,
feet
and then
on the
a
third.
retail space is usually at least 15.
Thank you.
You're good. Anyone else have any comments they want to make? No? If you want to give us some summary there, Mr. Jackson?
Yes. So, as is typical of anything that Frank and Anthony bring before this board, it's very well thought out, very well designed, very sensitive to Point Pleasant Beach. They certainly have had their families had 40 years of experience here. And we think that we've provided a beautiful product. It's a aesthetically pleasing building. It's going to be FEMA compliant. It's making, as the board was on immediately, we're making that turnaround a little safer by eliminating some of the entryways. We're getting rid of a very rundown and dilapidated site. And we're putting a use, as Mr. Taylor said, as one of the lowest traffic generators. And per Mr. Alciello's testimony, it's also a public amenity. The businesses in town, residents in town. Of course, we're also probably going to draw from the whole barrier island as well. But it's just a good amenity so people can have extra storage. It gets your junk out of your house and off your lawn and out of your backyard. And we submit that the benefits substantially outweigh the detriments and that the variances can be granted because it does benefit the entirety of the town. Thank you for your attention.
Ben?
I have nothing in terms of specific conditions other than those that are listed in Ray's report.
everything has been submitted in terms of landscaping and all that. We know that's all to be followed, architecturals, all of that, so. All right,
So we have the conditions to relocate the pipe with the DEP as a condition? Is it, they had to?
Yeah, I mean, that's shown on the
Dashboard.
site plan, so, and they'll need all outside agency approvals, Ocean County, NJDOT, flood hazard area permit is noted in our review.
can we get a motion to close for deliberations, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Davis, would you like to start us off?
Sure, my pleasure. Certainly, as we've heard from the testimony, as we all know, an underutilized piece of property in town. And what we have proposed before us is certainly a much more visually attractive use. We get some safety benefits out of that. I myself have been held up on 35 North Cincinnati Avenue while the tree trimming moves his truck back into that lot a couple times. And I always thought that that's a pretty risky move, having to go there and do that. So we definitely get some safety advances there. Couple things that I haven't heard from testimony is the density of this type of use in the area. I did a little research on my own on that. Within 5 miles, 5-mile radius of Point Pleasant Beach, and of course that's only a semicircle because there's nothing out in the Atlantic Ocean. There's no less than 6 and possibly 7 self-storage sites within a 5-mile drive of Point Pleasant Beach. I certainly think that's a pretty high density of use. So I think my biggest concern about this is the bigness of this facility. I think the scale of it is quite large, and I think not only the number of units, but the required size to make those number of units is of concern for me. As I said before, while the intensity of the traffic ingress and egress gets diminished, I think it's a miss not to provide some sort of pedestrian passage via sidewalks along here. I agree with the comment of Mr. Meserol that kids on bikes and kids on foot and quite a lot of pedestrian traffic actually, surprisingly, moves along here. And I think it's a miss within compliance with the master plan for a public benefit of sidewalks for protecting people from the proximity of traffic. Just for the sake of saying it, there's 18 approved uses for this particular zone and another 6 accessory approved uses. It's hard to believe that we have to find something that's not an approved use to come here. That said, it is a low impact use. Again, my concern is the scale of it. And I'm a little concerned that, and I know there's no requirement for it, but there was no soil sampling conducted during the geotechnical boring. There was the mention of ash and fill material. Historic fill is known to contain all sorts of heavy metals from ash and cinder. Even though it looks like there's going to be a lot of grading done on the site, it would be nice to know that we're not just burying a bunch of old contamination.
Excuse me, Mr.
I think
Chair.
that's enough.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're not saying no sidewalks. We're just saying we think it would be better without. We will, of course, abide by the board's determination. We're not,
It wasn't proposed.
well, we would agree to abide by sidewalks if that was we're asking for a waiver. We don't have to have that hill to die on. I should have made that clear, but
Board
thank you.
members can talk about it. I mean, I find, here's 2 people who live in town who are in that area all the time. I drive there, I go to places up in that area of town, and I never see anybody walking along there, and I'm wondering, why would they walk past the deli and the Thai food and the the businesses on the other side where there are sidewalks that you can get to. What makes someone walk to, I guess, maybe going to Spirits? I don't know. I never see anybody walking over there.
McDonald's.
McDonald's, yeah. Then they're taking the wrong path to get there. And bike performance and safety is, you know, incumbent on someone using their bicycle properly. But, you know, just different opinions. Lino?
I agree with you about the sidewalks. I think it would be dangerous for people to cross that U-turn, so
Yeah.
that would be my concern. I think it's a pretty fair use for the zone. It's not a prohibited use. So don't really have too much a problem with that. I think it's a fairly attractive building, and the site design is pretty nice. I appreciate the testimony of all the professionals. I think it's definitely an improvement from what is there now. I appreciate that it's not a traditional exterior storage type. I'm glad you're moving everything, or you propose to move everything inside, so it won't be a burden to the surrounding neighborhood. I'm glad the driveway is relocated to Elizabeth Avenue, because as Mr. Davis stated, I've been impacted by that tree. The tree operation that's puts a guy out in the middle of the road and stops traffic. I really don't take too many issues with the various variances. I do have a concern about the scale of it. It is pretty big, pretty tall.
Jay?
All right, so I do see it as a beautiful building. It's great architecture. I do see it as a benefit to not only Point Pleasant Beach residents, but Point Pleasant Borough. I mean, I know what you're saying about the density, but Point Pleasant Beach, Bayhead, Borough, there's really nothing that I can think of except for the one in Bricktown off of Jordan Road. I think so, in that respect, I think it's a benefit. It's a commercial use. It's definitely a commercial use. It just wasn't allowed or permitted expressly in our ordinance. I think it's very low impact compared to something else we could get. We could get another restaurant, we could get another strip mall, you know, whatever, it would be a hell of a lot more traffic in that respect. The idea of having the entrances closed up where the landscape company, where we used to, the trucks, the wood, having those closed up is definitely benefits safety-wise. And as far as a noise, any other use could create more noise and more traffic. I don't think I have a problem with it.
Mr. Kelly?
The culprit here is northbound Route 35. Route 35 has only one side of the road. The railroad has taken the other side, so you have nothing on the north side of the road except the railroad track. On the south side, on the east side on the west side, you lost everything down from Washington Avenue, pretty much all the way down to where 35 goes into Bay Head. We lost a football field, baseball field, little league field over the years. We've lost a number of things on that side of the road. We spent money on a little league in town, but we had a little league on that field. The change in the highway has resulted in that side of the road being neglected. The Borough Hall was the last home going down that way to the Borough Hall. You had to actually walk without a sidewalk to the Borough Hall. There was nothing there. And when the highway came in, it provided that particular area for housing, but there's no housing there. And there wasn't any housing built on that, and there was no housing to begin with. Now we have a problem with housing being built west tonight's presentation was well done. I can understand why we would like to see 3 or 4 more homes in there, but I don't think anybody's gonna go in there and buy a home or build a home in that area because of the closeness to 35 on the other side. Plus, you have businesses in that area that are not, we had one of the most successful car dealerships was down there, a little Chevy dealership at the end of the street. For those of you who have been around, it was there. They moved into the borough for the same reason. We have the highway here, we have the thing. Let's take a look at what we have now. We have a property here which is, quite frankly, ugly. It's a parking lot. No one goes in there, and when you do, you have to turn around and come back because you gotta come out the way you went in. I like this proposal. I think we're doing something positive here tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Clayton?
I think the building is nice. I'll echo the board members' comments as far as the safety benefits. It being a FEMA compliant building, decreasing impervious coverage. The planner spoke to the productive reuse, the space being convenient for local use, obviously the design, landscaping, et cetera, and the other board's comments as far as the low impact of the zone. I thought Mr. Davis's point, as far as with some of the weekends, the loading, the unloading, is a concern, and some of the other board members mentioned the scale is quite large, and just kind of paraphrasing what the planner said, as far as the building itself, it being an illusion of a 2-story building, but obviously it's not. It's a 3-story building.
Mr. Loader?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I was impressed by the presentation of all the professionals. The person that really kind of put this together for me was the planner. I believe that this site, part of the variance needed for this site is due to the shape of the site itself. I do believe that the impact of this is going to clean up that part of town. It's in really need of having something new. We have FEMA compliancy, the positive criteria are greater than the negative criteria. So at this point, I'm looking favorable towards this application.
So I'll start off with, yes, I think there's a high degree of site suitability here. We're in the highway commercial zone, a commercial use that is not allowed because it's not listed, and we've had this happen before. Sometimes things aren't listed because they're just never thought about, right? So they don't make it into the listing because no one really said, I'm gonna list a storage facility. It just happens, but it is not explicitly prohibited. It's through that exclusion that they're here tonight and needing the use variance. So I think the suitability of what is an empty lot that's unsightly, hasn't had a good use for a number of years in its location, other than, some construction equipment that's gone on and off through poorly designed driveways that are not even allowed if we were developing this site. I think that part of it is why I think the suitability is at a high level. The fact that it is low impact, you have the free flow of the traffic in and out. Could there be times where a few people show up? Yeah, There's times where a few people show up at CVS and you have to wait to park, or anywhere, you know, it happens. But if you have to be patient and wait for your turn, but usually once you put these items in these kind of storage facilities, I've used them before, you're not in and out of them all the time. Maybe a business or a few businesses would do that, but I don't think that's the kind of use where you're gonna see people coming back and forth to the site. It's a storage facility that you keep things in over a period of time. I think there's a visual attractiveness to the building. There's a safety part to the building. I really don't see any negative effect with where it's located. There's minimal residents across the highway, across the tracks. There's a couple, but there's really no negative impact. So I'll address the elephant in the room. The size, isn't that funny? So the scale of this to me is mitigated in a couple of ways, and it's mitigated through the purposeful design that they talked about, which is one, how they designed the building to appear in a certain way, even though it's 3 stories. There are a lot of units, but those units are all on the inside of the building, and this is not like storage facilities that we may see where you're looking at, you know, 70 aluminum roll-up doors stacked with a ramp access to get up to the 2nd level or anything like that. You wouldn't even know that this is that type of facility. But the other thing that mitigates the size to me is the shape of the building and the way that they stepped it back and followed the curve and made the building sit in a shape that meets the plot of land. Because I don't think there's really too many, you know, we're looking at flat elevations here, but from perspectives, there's not too many places that you'll be able to stand where you're gonna really be able to take in the whole building from any one viewing point. It's not like you're looking at this big mass because of the way the building has shape. So when you're on that southeast corner, you're seeing the corner of the building. When you're on the northeast corner looking back, you're seeing that step section of the building. There's nowhere really that I feel that it feels that it's a massive building. I think it's just a really clever design to get a lot of units in. And then when you talk about the units, I do see that as a benefit to the public. I do see it not only to our residents, but nearby towns. You know, people over time accumulate stuff, and I know I have. And sometimes you might want to start to move some of that stuff out of your life and hold it somewhere for a little bit. And that's what these kind of things are great for. You have different size units, you know, you get a little 10 by 10 unit, and you could put a lot of your basement in there and start to, you know, get spaces back in your house or wherever it may be if you're moving or different things. So
Put more stuff in.
yeah, you can get more stuff. You can just keep getting stuff, and then your kids' stuff, and you tell your kids where they can go get your stuff. So, you know, I think when we bring it back to the master plan of the reinvestment on this land, which is really underutilized, the other big thing that I don't want to let it slide by is the landscaping plan. You know, over 300 plantings going in, you know, so 30 plus trees and 279 other plants going in here. So I think it's just going to look, it's a big building, yes. It's going to be one of the largest in town, yes. It's going to have an appropriate use, a low impact use. It's going to look good, and it's going to have a feel to it with all they're doing and investing in it. And it's going to be a safe building and done, you know, from the highest quality level, as many things that these owners do in town. So, Mr. Jackson, I'm waiting for the train if you didn't notice. Just seeing if I have any other notes. No, I'm just gonna reiterate that I really don't see any negative to the public. I just don't see any detriment in any way. So obviously you can hear from my overall testimony that I support this. Get a motion.
Hold on, I just
Oh,
had one more,
Jay?
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
had one more thought I had before and I didn't think
Sure.
of. One unique aspect of this project is it doesn't affect any residential properties whatsoever.
Yep.
It's surrounded by CVS, Walgreens, Woodhaven, Tirecraft, Spirits, 2 diners, 2 strip malls. It's as commercial as it gets, the zone is as commercial as it gets. And it's just not gonna affect anybody, like, we usually get a lot of cases where it's across the street from somebody or next door to somebody. This is just gonna fit right in there, like you said, clean up the area in a nice way.
I agree with you, that we're not getting, more homes
Yeah.
on a commercial property.
All right, now we'll get a motion to close for deliberations.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Would someone make the motion for approval of the application?
I will make the motion to approve the application as stated.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chair Reynolds, second by Mr. Loder to approve application 2026-15 of 1500 Richmond Ave LLC with conditions. Secretary Davis?
No.
Mr. Bielmia?
Yes.
Vice Chair Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Clayton?
No.
Mr. Loder?
Yes.
And Chairman Strauss?
Yes.
Application approved.
Thank you very much.
We good?
Motion to adjourn.
We can adjourn? All right.
Second?